Everybody, this is Perch. And I was having a phone call. So this is kind of a question, a viewer question, except it's not. It's just a question that came up during a phone call. And we were talking about kind of this channel and the things. And it's a lot of the conversations I have with, real life people on the phone are always, they hit the same five notes. It's, why do you do so many videos? Like, that's crazy, man. You crazy. And then it goes to there's a decent percentage of your commenters that are crazy. That always is true. And I don't think it's actually a decent percentage. I think there's usually a handful of loud people who say, pretty baffling things. And then, that kind of drowns out the regular noise. That's always how it goes. You always, they've done tons of studies where, they bring in 100 people and they have two out of the 100 people say like crazy racist things, right? Just two. And the other 98 are saying normal things. And then they survey kind of the people who observed this crowd or, were in the crowd, say, hey, how many of the people do you think was racist? And everybody's like, 30, 40%. It's like that that volume triggers you. And I always remember that study a lot. It helps you gain some perspective. But anyway, so then people ask me like, hey, what's the deal with that Mumbles guy? Does he hate you or is this a joke? And that's always fun. I'm like, no, he hates me. That's actually the creator of Rags. That's who that guy is. He's angry because of I disparaged his zombie titty book. Is what's happened there. I'm just kidding. Anyway, and then the part of the conversation. This is the question I've gotten before, and it's what's interesting to talk about. Is on one hand, it's like, hey, the videos with the Twitter drama, the videos of the people acting out and being crazy on Twitter, I tend to skip those. Those are not interesting to me. But then I also get the same comment of, what do you do about that crazy stuff? Do you ignore it? Do you talk about it? Do you point out how stupid it is? Like, where does it all go? And this is a question that I think people struggle with. And I think people have pointed out that I've been a hypocrite in some cases by saying this isn't a big deal, you should ignore it, but then I also do videos about it. Now, in fairness, I try not to do the videos in the sensationalistic, over the top, like, OMG, Disney crashing, Kathleen Kennedy falling off a cliff, what's going on? That you see a lot of on YouTube. But in fairness, the reason why a lot of those headlines are like that on YouTube is because it works. It's because y'all click on them. If people didn't click on those, if they didn't generate high traffic, then yeah, those headlines would go away. So when I see people saying things like, I hate those headlines, it's like, except a lot of you click on them. People will say, I don't like to be baited. I like to make up my own mind. I don't think in the herd. And yet, they often do. That's human nature. Call it a lack of self-awareness, whatever you want to do, but that's pretty common. So how do I reconcile that? How do I say in one side of my mouth, look, this stuff they're a bunch of idiots, don't worry about it, it's not important, the percentage of people are even caring about this don't matter, like that Pocahontas issue. Like, who is really going to care about Pocahontas? Not 95% of the people who are reading Conan. Because here's what's going to happen. The majority of people who pick up that comic are going to open it up and they're going to be like, hey, look at the tits on this woman. Well, in fairness, that's every Conan comic, but okay. And cool, I've got this Conan comic and here's this woman named something. It's going to fly over the vast majority of the heads of everyone to even associate that with Pocahontas, let alone the 1% of it who's going to be like, wait a minute, is this tied back to a indigenous woman who may have been raped at some point historically? But I mean, nobody is going to be thinking of that. Most people are going to pick it up and go, yeah, art's pretty good. And okay, I buy Conan for the boobies. The end. That's how it's going to go. So why make a fuss about it? You're right. I struggle with whether to do it or not. I mean, and keep in mind, you're seeing 1 out of 50 things. There's the other 49 that go on every day that I don't bother with. I mean, there is a constant deluge of nonsense. A lot of people send me tweets of like, can you believe this shit? Over and over and over all day. And so that's why a lot of my videos don't go into the specifics, and they're like, dumb everywhere. This is dumb. But one of the counter arguments, and whether it's an interview I've done or I've talked to different people about this, they will say, I'll say, why are you getting involved in this? And the answer I often get back is, if I don't, the bad guys win. It's kind of this entire dialogue around social justice, woke, non-woke, kind of this whole topic. The people who are in there, throwing fists and trying to, bring it to people's attention, will say, if I don't do that, the bad guys win. Then they'll get away with it. Then it's going to get worse. I have to respond. I have to get in there and I have to throw this punch, because if I don't throw the punch, it's like, then they're just going to move faster. The only reason why it's taken a long time for this, this new world order to kind of roll out is because I'm in there, calling it out. And this isn't anything new. This is, what different commentators, left wing and right wing, have said for decades, that, the reason why they're doing the job they're doing is because, they're slowing down the evil that's flowing. I remain unconvinced that any of that stuff actually matters. And I know this is hard disagreement I have from a lot of people, a lot of big name YouTubers. Every time I say things like this, the knives come out like crazy. You're a fence sitter, you're stupid, you're naive, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is, I've never seen any compelling evidence to suggest that all this noise, all this activity is actually tangibly doing anything other than just kind of feels good that people are talking about it. So you take this Pocahontas comic issue, whatever, do a video, talk about this stupid thing. What goes on? Well, somebody on Twitter gets angry, gets offended, posts a bunch of stuff, calls it the most offensive thing in the history of every offensive thing. I am so mad today. I can't even. I literally can't even. And they get attention, and the writer apologizes, and then people all go back to their, they crawl back to their cave, and they that's probably some cultural appropriation saying that, but anyway, everybody retreats back to their, Twitter safe space to suckle and nourish to the next fight. And what's the play there? Ignore it. That's one option. You can just kind of ignore these things are happening. The problem is the people who need to ignore it the most are the people who feel compelled to get involved. This would be like, say, Jason Aaron. Jason Aaron felt compelled to get in there and respond to what was a drop in the bucket of attention and say, I'm wrong, you're right, I will reflect, cultural sensitivity, donate money, on and on it goes. It's dumb. It's all dumb. And it springs from a place. Here's the sad part, because I know another bunch of people came into that video and said, well, this person's a grifter. They're trying to make money. This is a money play. You're saying it's dumb, but clearly it's not dumb because it's making money. It's like, well, those two aren't mutually exclusive. It can be dumb and it can also make money. And the dumb extends to, the person who made the complaint, the people who reverberated the complaint, and Jason Aaron, who caved to the complaint, and everybody involved. That's the dumb in this. It is a money scheme. But here's my suspicion. I'm just speaking honestly now with you. I think whether there was money in there or not, I think that is not goal number one. I often use this example of, picture, if you will, like Family Feud. You know that game, Family Feud? They have the little board up at the top, and then you make guesses as to whatever the survey said, and it ranks it. What you do is you try and figure out the most likely, answer. Well, I don't think money is the primary goal of these people. I think attention is. I absolutely think that money is nice. Nobody's going to turn it down. And for some people, this has become a living. But I think the biggest goal here is attention. That's what they want. That's why they perform the way they do. Because, if it was money, there could be a solid argument to, basically going direct to Marvel. Many of these people have the hotline to people at Marvel. You could go directly to the source. You could make, you could make your case and probably make more, because if you're attacking a corporation, you're typically going to get less money going really public. Some of you may disagree with that, but there's a lot of proof. There's a lot of, as they say, receipts to prove that. There's a careful balance between what you want to do is you want to present the threat that you're going to go public and that's going to be business damaging for them. But if you actually go public, it fires up a different process where people have to go get lawyers, start to get involved in that process, and the lawyer's job is to mitigate the damage. So the sweet spot is to get people worried just enough that you're going to make their lives a living hell, but not go so public that they have to respond officially. Once they have to respond officially, then you're in a different process, a different game, and you're sharing that cash with other people, like lawyers. So it's a very careful balance. My belief is most of the stuff that goes on Twitter, most of the outrage, most of the literally can't evens, most of it springs from a place of attention. These are people who do not have a lot going on in their lives. They have under 10,000 followers on Twitter, and it's embarrassing and shameful, and they need the attention. And so they do these things to get it, which brings us back to the original question. Okay, me doing videos about it, doesn't that give them more attention? The answer is yes. The sick part about this is people who are involved in this game, whether they are, whether you get negative attention or positive attention, it tends to all be positive attention. The way social media and Twitter and other things work is that even if you're getting, even if you come across like a complete buffoon and people are calling you an asshole and you make yourself look like an ass, it's so polarized that some people will naturally come to your defense. As I've done interviews with people, the saddest part of the interview, speaking directly, whether I'm doing an interview with a Zub, whether I'm doing an interview with a Gabe, is the people who support those individuals. I'll see a bump in followers. I'll see a bump in people who came in, not because they cared about what I said or what was said, but because they want to align with the group. Maybe this makes me a super genius by interviewing people from all sides. I'm just collecting all these groups, but they don't last. The problem is a couple of weeks go by, they realize like, oh my God, this guy's a flaming liberal or a conservative or whatever they want to call you today, and then they dump out. Nobody sticks around long enough to really hear. But that's the only sad part about the interviews. I don't want that audience. I don't want the audience that's showing up just to go, oh, I support that guy because I don't like somebody else. Therefore, I'm on your side. I want people on my side who actually, give a shit about what I have to say. Seems crazy, right? I don't know. I haven't landed on a great answer about ignore it or not ignore it. Some of this stuff's good to talk about. I don't believe that talking about it is mission critical, and if I don't do it, the bad guys win. I don't believe that's true. I don't think there's enough evidence to prove that. And even if it was, my tiny footprint of a follower count, listener count would not anyway, remotely move the needle where that's concerned. But I just don't buy it. I think that's a convenient way to say, to kind of give yourself a pass and not ask the hard questions. Why am I talking about this? It's a deeper question. I don't know. I guess for me, it goes back to the same answer I've given many times on this channel. I talk about things that I feel like talking about. Sometimes those things are positive. Sometimes they're negative. Sometimes there's too long a run of negative, and then I start to feel really shitty about things. Like, quite frankly, I'm in now. I'm not having a good time right now. And in my mind, there's an internal clock. And the longer I stick in that negative path about just being upset or frustrated about something in comics, the worse the videos are, the less fun I'm having, and the more my brain starts going, why are you taking the time doing this? It's not worth your time. Stop. So, then I thankfully, and I do have to thank you, the viewers help out. You send me questions. You send me things to talk about, all kinds of different things. I love it. It's a handy antidote to these streaks, because if I stay in it long enough, and long enough for me is probably, I'm an impatient guy. So, if I have a week run of kind of just where I feel like it's all negative bullshit, the culture war is just, that's all we're talking about, I'm out. Screw it. That's too much for me. Now I'm going to lean over here and get a parking ticket in this garage because you're literally in my life. It's like you're right here in the car next to me. This place is about to bend me over for $40 for a day of parking. It's garbage. Anyway, thanks for talking it through with me. I realize you didn't have a choice. Well, you did have a choice. You could have clicked away at any time on this video, and many of you probably did. Anyway, that's some big questions here, and I think some of you may come in and say, "Hey, Perch, you got close to getting to some depth and some truth to the matter, but then the video ended. So maybe there's a way to talk about this again at more depth. Maybe grab grab a couple people, do a little panel on it. It's an interesting topic. If everybody comes at it honestly, it can be pretty good to talk about. There you go. Y'all have a good day, and thanks for listening.